So let's, okay, so we are now recording, and why don't we just for fun, I figure, I'm going to unmute everybody. Let's just all say hello to the people that couldn't join us and that are going to be watching the replay. So let's just say hi.
Hi.
Okay.
Good morning.
Nice to
Okay.
meet you.
And then, okay, so now I'm just going to mute everybody. And then Terry, what I was saying is I'm going to go through with a PowerPoint, practice using a PowerPoint. So if you have a question or a clarification, please maybe just raise your hand and then unmute yourself and share or ask. And then longer questions or comments we'll do at the end. Sound good? Okay, so let's go to the PowerPoint. Slideshow. Okay. From start. Okay, so tips for using meetup.com. So first of all, who am I to be giving you guys any advice at all? So this is my background. I had a meetup in Northern California for 2 years. At the time, I mean, it's important to say I did not have a coaching practice, so I wasn't trying to get clients, but I had an active meetup, and I had people who came regularly. I held it twice a month. And people who came regularly for 18 months. And it was called Develop Your Intuition, Transform Your Life. And then I took a pause, started my coaching practice, moved down to Southern California. And so earlier this year, I started 2 new meetups. I have this Develop Your Intuition, Transform Your Life, Southern California. And then a second one, they are mostly unrelated, Creating Conscious Relationships. So I've been holding mostly meetups in the conscious relationship group, but I've had 8 meetups across both groups in 3 months. And what I'm going to be talking about is how ultimately I have started to get discovery calls, and I have started converting people and recruiting people into some group coaching. So it is working, and we're going to talk about, if it's not working, there's a reason it's not working, and when you do certain things, it does work. So the first thing, is even if you don't want to start a meetup group, this is so important, but Meetup is the ultimate research tool. Oh my gosh, it's so worth spending time. So you'll just get a sense of people in your area and what they're interested in. Just go in there and cruise around and see what groups are most popular in your area. And then you can see that what they have these tags in Meetup to indicate interests. So everyone, you can have a free account on Meetup. Just join as a member. There's no cost. And when you create your account on Meetup, you have to indicate your interests, and you can have unlimited interests. And then Meetup will show you groups that meet your interests. So go in and you can also just look at groups within a certain mile radius. So just go see what's popular. What are the biggest groups? And where are they meeting? That's, where are they meeting? But most importantly, don't just look at the groups and how many members are in there. Click into the groups and look at, are people actually coming to their events? So you'll see how many people RSVP'd for their events. So that's really what's going to tell you what's popular. And then another thing that's just, I think an interesting research thing is how much are other people charging for events? So that's pretty, you have to click into their events to see that, but you can find that pretty easily. And that again is just going to tell you more about people's interests. And then I just put a note here, if you're considering Meetup, so, my initial, response when I first moved to Southern California was, oh my gosh, there's like 6 meetups on intuition. How can I start another one? But you know what I realized? That just means everybody's interested. They don't care that, prospective attendees don't care that there's 6 meetups with a similar topic. I mean, it's good for them, right? Then they're just going to pick the events that they're most interested in. So don't worry about, if other people have the same topic. And at the same time, if you can see there's an interest, but your topic is slightly different, obviously that's going to be helpful. So, okay, so why this is really the number one reason after research to use Meetup is a great marketing tool. So as I already explained, you select tags, users select these interest tags. And then when you create a group, you select interest tags. And once your group is approved, Meetup just sends it out to everybody who's expressed an interest in any one of your interest tags. So everybody gets a notification, here's a new group you might be interested in. So that happens once your Meetup group is approved. But let's say later on, other people are obviously still joining Meetup. So Meetup will show them your group if there are overlapping interest tags. So it's ongoing marketing for you. So yeah, just if Meetup is popular where you live, it's a no-brainer. And then I've had this conversation with people. It might be that where you're living, it's a small town, it's a smaller audience, so maybe there's a bigger town nearby that's in a reasonable driving distance. It's definitely, I think, worth it. So setting up your group. So again, what seems to be popular in your group, in your area, and actually, sorry, the bullet's not very clear here, but when you're naming your group, be very clear and very succinct. The reason for that is when you send out emails to your group members, it'll put the name of your group in your subject line. So if you have a very long name of your group, then your subject line is going to be less visible. So clear and succinct. Write a clear and compelling group description. Some people will just join based on your group name, but most people are going to read the group description. That's been my experience. So that's the place you definitely want to use your ideal client language. People will look at that. And at the end, if you guys want, we can take a quick look at my Meetup group, and then you can see how it's set up. And then within your group, when you set it up, you get to write a welcome email. And I've found that people do read those and they'll respond to those. So I just tell them, what kind of events are going to be held, how frequently, what will happen at events, what they're going to get out of it. So anything that's in purple, in my mind, is really important here. So you want to make sure you always have an event coming up and with a new talk title. So when people are joining your group, you want them to have something that they can RSVP to right away. So the thing that I've discovered is talk titles don't matter quite as much. I mean, obviously, the more effort you put into it, the better. But you already have an interested audience. So the talk titles, I don't work that hard to use the formats we've learned in ELA, and I still get a lot of RSVPs. But people do read the event description. So if they're interested in your group, what's going to happen? They're going to get an email when you set up an event. They will click into the email. Click into the event. I can see that because I can see that people have visited the group. So they will just go and take a look at the event description. So that's important. And then the other thing is, when you're setting up events, is send clear and compelling event reminders. So Meetup will send event reminders, but it's just going to say, this event is happening, or you signed up for this event. So I actually like to send clear, compelling event reminders with new copy. That works well for me. I'll get last minute signups that way. But the most important thing about your event is the signature talk. So, I've had a lot of experience with not using the signature talk, and I don't get engagement and I don't get conversions. And when I started using it faithfully, I got engagement and I got conversion. So location. So this is obviously a big deal. Is having enough space. But what I've learned over time is, if you have space at your home, it's acceptable. People actually might even kind of like coming to your home. So my first Meetup was in my home, and I've actually held one or two here in Southern California at my home. People like it if your space is big enough. So it's definitely an option to consider. A lot of people use coffee shops, but the thing that I've been really cautious about with coffee shops is noise levels and making sure you have space. So some coffee shops around here, they have event rooms and they'll let you use it. So that might be a better option. What I've had a lot of success with are churches are great places. If they don't, some of them limit it to nonprofits, but if they don't, it's usually quiet. There's usually parking, and they don't charge that much. So I didn't note it here, but sometimes yoga studios are good options, because they may also be willing to put it on their mailing list, but they'll generally charge you more. and the space may not be ideal. I've discovered they may not have chairs. So not all of people who come to my meetups want to sit on the floor on a pillow. So I really like using churches. That's worked well for me. And you may, just a note, you sometimes when you're renting space, people will ask for liability insurance. So I don't know how many of you guys have liability insurance. I do. One of my coach trainers required it, and it costs me about $200 a year. So it feels like a good investment if you're going to rent space. Okay, so just more tips for using Meetup. So to charge or not to charge. So I know Sage vehemently says do not charge, but the thing is, Meetup is not free anymore. It used to be, but it's not now. And also, if you may be paying for space. So I just suggest see what's acceptable in your area if other people are charging. And what I do now is I ask for donations to cover the meetup costs and space rental. And my experience here is that people find that reasonable. So most people will make a donation unless, for some reason, well, most people make a donation. And then what I do is I actually just suggest an amount, and people will generally make a donation in that amount. So just a note, people can pay on Meetup, but I don't recommend that because Meetup takes a fee. People are, if you're just asking for a donation, people are very likely to bring cash and drop it in a basket. So I would not do it through Meetup. So the ELA team, suggests that you set up these mandatory questions for new members to your group to include a phone number. What do you want from the group? Your biggest challenge right now. So I set it up. I didn't make it mandatory. And the reason, the ELA team suggests that is so you can reach out to people by phone before events. So I think depending on your interest level, that could really work well. I confess I haven't been doing it. And partly I'm a little bit lazy because I'm getting enough interest in my group. But it probably, I'm imagining, would increase the show up rate. So I think it's smart. I just haven't done it. So then just a note, what if you create this group, you create events, but nobody's joining your group or coming to your event? So it may just be your group name, for some reason, isn't resonating with people. And you're thinking, okay, this group name isn't working. I don't believe you can change a group name. But you can just delete your group. So let's say only 10 people have joined. You can just delete your group and then start a new one with a new name and new interest tags. And then guess what? It'll get promoted all over again for you. So that's just something, it's, you're not locked in now for this group forever. And there's no fixing something that didn't work. Or, you change your niche, delete your group and start a new one. Meetup does have a plan. It's a slightly higher cost where you can have 3 groups, so obviously 3 different names, locations, and interests. So this is a strategy that some people use. I think Sage has talked about this. So you can have them in different locations, or they can have different names, and you can then direct people to the same event. In my experience, it takes just a little bit more work. I've tried that. You end up having to write I feel like I end up having to write slightly different copy for the different groups, but it's an option. And again, if there isn't enough interest, I've just started doing this, posting my group and events on Facebook. I haven't actually gotten any traction from that yet, but obviously I think the more I do that, the better that will get, and just more visibility. And I didn't note that anywhere on here, but just Meetup, when you start a Meetup group, it just does give you credibility. People will, to some degree, just automatically see you as an authority in your space. I've definitely experienced that. Okay, so just some event best practices. So these are the things that I do at every event that I think really help. So it's important to make a list of everything I need to bring, because otherwise I'll forget, and there's a lot of just small details. So, one is your printed out sign-in form. So this is really important because Meetup will not give you people's email addresses. But if you use a sign-in form, people will sign in and they will put their email address down. So, and then I just use little check boxes to say, are you interested in the mailing list? Are you interested in coaching? And people always check yes for the mailing list, and they give me their email address, always. Sometimes they will just check the coaching box, but generally you have to wait to make your offer at the end. Um, Snacks are useful in getting people to the sign-in table. If you're asking for donations, make that really visible. And then I always put business cards or postcards around my sign-in form, my donation basket, and my snacks. So it seems like a small thing, and it can be a little bit challenging to greet people at the door, but it's really important because people will often show up not knowing anybody. Some people are a little bit more shy, and people will always kind of come to the door and say, am I in the right place? So I make it a priority to greet people at the door. Obviously, if you have someone who can do it for you, that's great, but it's really important. And then, expect late arrivals. So I only ever start at 10 after the hour, because otherwise, that way I just get to welcome everybody, as many of the people as possible. So that's just sort of my policy at this point. And then just as an FYI, it's not necessarily best practice, but my meetups are 2 hours, and I find that people do stay for the duration. I think 5 minutes longer would be too much, but people will stay for 2 hours. I know Say just talked about this, but it's just reiterating, it's been my experience. People really like the handouts, but you know what? Like, don't waste the opportunity. So make sure you put you use the footer. It's kind of like I did on this PowerPoint for your name, your business, and your website or other contact information, anything you want. But don't waste the opportunity, because I actually had somebody come back to a meetup, and she had laminated a handout that I had made, and because she felt like it was really helpful. So people really do. It's absolutely worth taking the time to make high quality handouts. Just a note, this has been a little bit of a sore point with mine, is if parking is a challenge, think about that. And when you're sending out your event announcements or reminders, make suggestions for people if it's an issue. And then I mentioned this a little bit earlier, but Meetup will send reminders, but there's no content in them. So I highly recommend writing some interesting copy at the last minute, because you will generally I always get last minute signups. In the beginning, I was getting a lot of RSVPs, and I limited the attendance number. Don't do that. Don't limit it. I don't think it's helpful. And the thing you just need to expect is that the show rate is only ever 40 to 50%. It's just what it is. I've been doing this for a really long time, and that's good. If you get a show up rate of 40 to 50%, that's good. And then just 2 notes that have been helpful for me is just remember, you're creating an experience for your attendees. That helps me feel a little bit less self-conscious, but most importantly, this has been my challenge. Don't give away the farm. It's tempting, but let them know what else they need to learn. And then more best practices after an event. So what you'll see is people who might have signed up, and at the last minute they said, I can't come. I love it when people do that. But then you'll have a list of people who were interested but couldn't come. And then I message them on Meetup, and then just say, I'm so sorry you couldn't come. And I might offer them a clarity call. So this has actually worked well for me. I have gotten people to sign up for calls from that follow-up. So I do recommend that. And then what I started doing recently was where meetups that had particularly high interest level, I made a little summary video and then put it on my website. And so when I reached out to people, I said, here's a little bit more about the video. And then, of course, the video you get to say, if you're interested in this topic and you want some support, set up a clarity call. And then I'm just starting to do this now. Consider asking members who enjoyed the event to write a comment on the group page or give you a short testimonial. But I think, my experience is you want to have some sense of a relationship with somebody before you do that. So this one I threw in here because this was a sticking point for me. It may not be for you guys, but meetup groups are really one of 2 things. They're either a community or people are giving sort of educational talks. So, what I mean by community is it might just be a social group. Let's all just meet up for coffee or drinks or, hiking. and then when I first set up my intuition group years ago, I set it up as a community. Come have an experience. You're going to learn content. We're going to all bond as a community. And I liked doing it that way, and because also then I could charge for events, and I liked doing that. But if you set it up that way as a community, then people will come more regularly, but they won't sign up as coaching clients because they're getting everything they need from the group, right? They're getting the content, and they're getting the content, and they're getting community. So this was a little bit of a sticking point for me this year when I really wanted to get clients, is I had to just really let go of the idea of creating a community and really focus on, this is a talk. You're going to learn something. I want you to learn something valuable from this talk. And then, just a note. So I guess I didn't have somewhere else more logical to put this note, but the one downside of doing this, is you do end up creating multiple signature talks because you need a new topic for every meetup group. So that's the one thing that has created, a fair amount of additional work for me. So just that's the one, so that's the big investment, I think. So yeah, so this is just a summary of my experience. So, I moved to Southern California, and I could see right away when I got a Meetup, it's very popular. So, yeah, it's a great resource. And there are groups that are easily 1 to 200, but there are groups closer to LA that have as many as 2,500 people in them. And personal development oriented groups are the most popular here, as are consciousness raising events. So I could see all of that, personal development, consciousness raising. I didn't see anything related to relationships. So I decided to combine all of that, and I called the group Creating Conscious Relationships. And literally, I think I had 100 people in maybe 4 days. That's how interested people were. So 3 months in, I'm at 254 members. So just my experience again, my title talks have been okay. Like I said earlier, I haven't put a ton of effort into my title talks. I'm sorry, talk titles. But I've been getting about, 32 RSVPs per event, and then again, show rate about 40 to 50%. I've had a fairly good turnout. And then again, I've been asking for donations with a suggested amount of $15, and most people put something in the basket. And then the key thing here is when I follow the signature talk outline without compromising it, engagement is really good, and I get discovery sessions. And when I don't follow it, I don't get discovery sessions. So that's my main takeaway. So, gosh, I guess I got through that way faster than I expected. So I'm going to stop sharing and just see what questions you guys have. Go ahead, Tanya. Do you want to? I'll unmute you. Yeah, go for it. Oh, sorry. Wait, you're not. Okay, there we go. Go ahead.
Thank you, Dan. Will we? 2 questions. Will we get a copy of your slide handout?
Absolutely.
And then the second question was, you said like Meetup sends a reminder email, but how do you do your own copy? Because you said Meetup doesn't give you the email addresses. So you said you write an email that's more compelling.
Yeah, so maybe I'll just give you I'll just quickly show you my Meetup group. I'm going to click share.
Thing on how you do things.
So can you guys see this? So this is one of my Meetup groups. Let me just move this out of the way. Okay, so this is my group. This is the homepage, Creating Conscious Relationship. Here's my upcoming event. Usually I have quite a few upcoming. Here's my members. I have 7 past events. And so here's this so I can create an event right here or manage groups. So here's where at any point in time I can contact members. So I can go in and I can send it to everyone in my group, or people that have been active, or people who RSVP'd for a particular event. I just generally send it to everybody in the group. And then here's my message, and then subject line and message. So that's how I let's see. Just while we're in here, I guess I'm not sure what else might be helpful to show you. You don't get a lot of information about your members, so that's why it's really important to have that sign-in form. Oh, so a couple things. So here's my group description, and I can send a link to my group too if people want to see that. So here's my group description using as much client language as possible. And then if I go into my group settings, excuse me, here's where I have my, in members. Here's where I have these three groups questions that I was saying Sage's team suggests that you ask. And then here's my welcome message telling people what to expect. Does that give you an idea?
Yeah. So it's quite easy to just create an event, and I think it's just the copy, isn't it? Getting the languaging right.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing about Meetup, it's fairly forgiving because people have already expressed an interest in your topic. And and again, assuming people are using Meetup in your area, so they're using it, they like your topic. That's what I like about it. It's fairly forgiving, so you can sort of hone it by trial and error as you go.
And what's the cost, like the monthly subscription, like for different plans?
Does anybody else know? So I've been on it for so long. I'm on the plan where I have 3 Meetup groups, and they just bill me every 6 months, and they just raised it. So I think I just got billed $98 for 6 months. So it's basically $200 a year, but that's for the 3 groups. So if you just have 1 group, it's less. Yeah. So again, so my experience here is people are willing to pay, to give you a donation, because they know they're used to that it costs people money to have a group.
Okay. Oh, thank you.
Sure. Hi, Marion. Go ahead.
Yes. Hi.
Hi.
I don't know here in Finland if Meetup is very popular, but I guess Eventbrite, are they the same? Do they function the same, or do you have?
They aren't. I have used Eventbrite. So Eventbrite is sort of like an event calendar, and you can have people RSVP on Eventbrite. You can have people pay. The main difference with Eventbrite and Meetup is Meetup people actually join a group. So in my experience, that creates like a level of investment. And they're going to but more importantly, they're going to keep seeing emails about anytime you can post to your group as much as you want. When I just looked at my members in my group, there's only one person that unsubscribed from event announcements. Everyone else is getting all my emails. So on Eventbrite, you post one event and you can email it out. You can email people who RSVP, but you don't have a community.
Okay. So that's the difference between Meetup and Eventbrite.
It's a big difference. Yeah.
So you like more Meetup, I guess.
Because you have a captive audience. I've got 254 people, and only one of them is not getting my emails.
Mm-hmm.
And then literally with my group, literally 2 to 4 or 5 members join every week.
Wow.
So it just keeps growing.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Sure. Hi, Sharon.
Hi. Hello, everybody. Diane, thank you for this.
Sure.
Helpful. So I've never actually used Meetup. I've heard about it, and I'm in Southern California, so I should use it.
You should.
Yeah. So do people find you? Like, let's say I'm one of your clients or members. I go onto Meetup and I type in the search bar relationships, and then all the various potential Meetup groups I can join pop up.
Exactly. So 2 things. I'll just share it again.
Yeah.
I'm going to go back. So when you first join Meetup, when a user just creates a free account on Meetup, they pick to interest tags, and then so when they first join, Meetup will and then we'll continue to show them everything that's connected to their interest tag. So that's how users find groups. And actually, I'll just show you that. So if I just go to the home page, so you can do it. I can either search within 50 miles of my location. And actually what it's doing here is it's gonna default to my, well, actually right here, it will either all up, so right now it's showing calendar. So this is events, 50 miles of Long Beach, and it's my groups and suggestions. So that means based on my interest tags. But I can also just put in all upcoming events, and now it's just gonna show me. Or now I can just put in, as you said, Sharon, I can put in relationship and search with, and then I can change the distance and the zip code. So this is showing me groups. And then, oh, I'm sorry, I'm on the calendar. Or then I can just go to groups. So let's actually, so right now it's showing me all relationship groups within 50 miles. I can just show me all groups within 50 miles. Now it is, right now it's doing it based on my interest tags. I'm sorry, I guess it's not, it's showing all. And then suggested groups is based on my interest tags. So that's how people find groups and find you. And then, but the other piece is, so that I was saying earlier, when you create a group, so like notifications, I'm sure I'm going to have this new group just started, LA Higher Consciousness Intensive. So apparently that group has some interest tags that overlap with mine. So I just see these. So I see new groups that they think I might be interested in. I get reminders of events just happening. These are not events I've signed up for, right? They're just, I guess these are groups that I've joined. So, and then I see notifications. So my point is, Meetup is doing so much marketing for you all the time.
Exactly. It feels like that's the reason to do this, is it's just part of your marketing for your business.
Yeah, and Sharon, it's so popular here. I mean, especially where you are, there are groups that have thousands of people in them in LA.
Yeah.
So
my second question for you has to do with location. Yeah, so do you hold the groups just in your home, or do you rent a place to hold the groups?
Yeah, so so what I was saying earlier is let me just see some you guys probably can't see that. So this is me getting to practice webinar formats. Where was my slide on location? Here it is. Okay, on this, because this is good practice for me. Okay, so this is what I was saying earlier about location. So my experience is, it is acceptable to do meetups at home if you have enough space. People don't mind that. I have done it. People like it, but generally, my experience has been that, and Sharon, I'm sure for you, you'll run out of space. So you can, and people do use coffee shops, but the downside of that is noise levels. Sometimes coffee shops have event rooms. I've seen that here in Long Beach, but I just really worry about the noise. So I have had the best luck with churches. So just, sometimes they limit it to nonprofits, but, and they might sometimes want liability insurance. But I'm using a church right now in Long Beach that's charging me $25 per event, which is nothing. And it's a really quiet, really spacious room that I can get easily 50 people in. It's got chairs. So, for you, yoga studios might be an option, but they tend to charge more. They want more money.
Yeah.
And they want liability insurance, and they may or may not have chairs. And I think chairs are a big deal. Anyway, that's my 2 cents. And somebody else had a question too, who somebody else had a question. Anyway, just jump in, you guys, if you have a question. Go ahead, Gwen.
Hi. Sorry, I had to run away. I heard some noise in the house. I'm like, oh, I'm by myself. What's going on? Question is, when you were talking about doing it as a talk instead of just a community, how do you do that in your copy to sort of differentiate so people know, hey, I'm doing a...
Yeah. Yeah, because my previous meetup, I would use a lot of language about join the group, be a part of a community, let's learn and grow together. So that, yeah, so that, yes, it was all in my copy, and it was really challenging for me to stop doing that. But yeah, it's not helpful.
Okay.
If you want, it's not helpful if you want private clients.
Okay. Which we do.
Right.
Right. My second question is, you said you had to then come up with several talks to rotate through. If you get people coming every time and you're doing it twice a month, how much are you having to change up those talks without giving away the farm? That's my concern. Is I'm going to have to keep doing things, and then there goes my whole program. Like,
Right. I guess it depends on your topic. I mean, I'll just show you kind of what I've been doing. Let me go back to Meetup. I guess it just, yeah, I mean, it would be good to just think about subtopics where you have 5 steps and then you just talk about 2. So I guess with my topic of relationships, it's, there's a million, and there's a lot of overlap in my talks, of course, but there's just a lot of different ways to sort of approach the same topic slightly differently. So you can see, I had relationship as a mirror. Actually, somebody else from Meetup, Laura, came and co-hosted and spoke at this one on conscious sexuality, overcoming our unconscious blocks, attachment styles. Okay, never mind that one. This was an experiment that did not go well. A repeat on a weeknight, and then by the way, these are just attendees. I ended up marking the people that actually showed up, but so you what you can't see is that I generally get about 30 plus RSVPs. But anyway, so Gwen, does that kind of give you an idea?
yeah.
And then yeah.
I'm just guessing if someone's coming and then they're going, oh, I already heard this talk, or I already did this workshop, then they're going to drop off.
Yeah, exactly. And, so I do have people who come to multiple events. And so, there are people that are going to come to all your events, or a lot of them, and never sign up as a client. And I'm okay with that. It's like they end up helping create a space of engagement and interest, and those people, it's interesting, right? They'll often, at some point they're sharing and they'll say, oh, I come to all the meetups and they're great. So they end up being really good advocates for you, even if they never sign up.
Right.
So I like those people. So that then it's helpful to have slightly different talk titles.
Right. Okay. Got it. Thanks.
Gwen, I meant to ask you, in your meetup group in the 2 hours, are you following then the signature talk thing with like partner exercises and handout? I mean, like, so because I was thinking, like, I've got like 25 exercises, like money exercises. I haven't, as part of a group coaching program, I haven't done it, but so would you recommend then I could do 1 exercise per thing? And then
Yeah, that's great. Yes, so I just can't stress this enough. When I do a meetup and I don't follow the signature talk, I don't get engagement and I don't get signups. And when I follow it, which is, starting with engaging questions, and now I'm kind of forgetting engaging questions. Tell people what they're going to get out of this, go into my story, then I go into some teaching, and yes, I absolutely have a handout and I have an exercise inside of the teaching. Yeah, and just constantly engaging questions all the way through. So engaging questions, your story, the handouts, people really like the handouts and the exercises. Sorry, I'm repeating myself. But just to say, it really works. And then the thing is, which I just keep learning is over and over, is do not soft sell. If I soft sell at the end, people won't sign up. You really got to say, here's what we're able to do in 2 hours. And I really hope you got something out of it. And you do your takeaways. Glad to hear you guys got something out of it. But here's what's possible if you really commit to this work. And here's how you can really commit to this work. Got to do it.
Okay, that's what I got to practice. Also, I might do that because I was resistant to using the material that I received when I became a coach. But I thought maybe the meetup might be good too because I already got the handouts. I just need to just.
Yeah, and I think that would be great. You could structure your events around those different exercises. So that's 20 different talk titles.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, also, like while you were talking, I was like, oh, I wonder how, like piggybacking on what you're doing, creating conscious relationship with money.
Yeah.
As a talk, I mean, as a group name.
Right. And the key is just checking to see what people in your area are interested in. So, it's always back to what they're always saying is we know what we want to give them, but we need to give them what they're asking for. So use Meetup to see what people are signing up for, what groups they're joining, what events they're going to.
Okay. Oh, thank you. I might test that thing up. Creating conscious relationship with money.
I like it.
Thinking the soul. But I don't want to use the word soul, so I don't know. But thank you so much.
Sure. And it sounds like Marion had a question. Oh, sorry. Trying to unmute you. It's not working. There we go. Oh, because I think we're both doing it at the same time. Sorry. There we go. Okay. Sorry.
Okay. No, sorry. I don't have any more question. Maybe I don't put my hands down.
Oh, okay. No worries. No worries.
Yeah.
Anybody? I'm just going to unmute everybody because at this point.
This is Megan. I have an interjection of something that may be helpful too. Is to use your meetups to bring in your affiliates. So if if your thing is in self-care, that you could bring in somebody and then you do a shorter signature talk, and then somebody, then another company could bring in, whether it's massages or something else that's like a special treat on one of the items that you talk about. And then you do, then your signature talk is a little bit consolidated.
That's a great idea. I like that a lot.
Use your wingmen as well to help promote each other and bring in their services and balance out with what you do.
Yeah, I like that a lot. So what I have done is I've had actually 2 people that I know through Sage's community, one ELA person and one other actually just come in and co-host events. So I've just tried that too, just to mix it up a little bit, which is not exactly an affiliate. So, but yeah, I love that idea. Both like complementary and affiliates.
How does it work then? Like, would you have then 2 sign-up forms or 2? Would you share the email addresses?
Well, what I did with the 2 events that I did that way, we just shared the sign-up forms. I think I didn't want to ask people to sign 2 sign-up forms, so sign in, any other suggestions or ideas people have? Nope. Okay. Well, let's go ahead and stop the recording.